It could be the same thing that they're looking to try and do on transition. So we've got to be aware of it. But as soon as we win it back, is it down the sides? Is it down the sides? Is it into feet? Can we get hold of it and then go quickly? So that was really what we were looking at in terms of a transitional point of view. And again, why we want our 8s coming out and press on the outsides and trying to keep our 9s central. This was Sheffield United versus Luton Town at Bramall Lane. It's getting towards the business end of the season. We're in March and we're on a decent run ourselves. Both teams are right up there in the promotion race, the mix. Sheffield United are in second place and doing brilliantly in the season. We're obviously in the playoff positions at the moment, but going up to Sheffield United when they're in the form that they're in, it's a huge game for both teams, but especially for us. So we had Ethan Horvath in goal. Right wing back, Cody Drame. Right side centre back was Gabe Osho. Centre back was Tom Lockyer. Left side centre back was Amari Bell. And left wing back was Fred Onyedimna. Playing in a deeper midfield position was Marvellous Nakamba. We had the 2 8s of Peli Ruddock Mpanzu and Alan Campbell. And then up front we had Eli Adebayo and Carlton Morris. Sheffield United's shape was a similar one to ourselves, 3-5-2. Some key players really that we picked out were Ahmed Hodzik because of the outside centre backs who could overlap from that position. Norwood, do you want to try and stop playing as that pivot? Sander Berg, but the 2 front players we spent a lot of time on, especially, and they've got a lot of threats in different areas. But Njai and McBurney both offer different threats, but very strong players. Particularly Njai because he can be elusive, he's strong, he can drop into pockets of space, he can turn, drive the team up the pitch, take 3 players out of the game on his own. So there was a little bit of a focus on those chain of players from the back right the way through to their front players. So out of possession, I mean, a lot of focus went on. It always goes on our out of possession work. We don't tend to dominate the ball. And we know going to Bramall Lane, we're not going to do it against Sheffield United. But if we're very good out of possession, then hopefully we can have the ball a little bit more. And what we'll try and do is one of our things we speak about a lot is we always want to be pressing. Now, you can obviously press high, mid, and low, but you can still always be pressing and try and be aggressive. But a lot of focus went into especially from the statics. And if you can start from statics and trying to stop the opposition playing, it can be a little bit easier, especially from goal kicks now. It's an opportunity to get set quickly and try and stop them getting any rhythm in the game. But there was a lot of conversations during the week with us coaching staff about, okay, well, if we do stop them starting, and I've set them up in a little bit of a different shape there. At times, one of the outside centre-backs could come a little bit higher. We could build with 2 centre-backs either side of the 6-yard box and maybe one of the wing-backs drop down. 2 midfielders floated almost in pivot positions, and they could end up a little bit looking like 4-2-4 at times from a static position. Not all the time, but this could be something they do. So we could look at going man for man, which we did do. But a lot of our work throughout the week, and a lot of the discussions with the coaches was, we're then potentially going to offer them man for man against, Njai and McBurney. And McBurney's he's a big lump. He's good at handling the ball when they go direct as well. So we had to really think about that. Is that something that we want to do? Do we want to be that aggressive, or do we want to maybe go slightly off and give them a +1 at the top end and allow them to have one pass, and then that's a trigger for us to go and press? But we decided to try and be ourselves and look to try and press aggressively from statics and almost go man for man, so we could end up with 4, push one of the wing backs in, 2 strikers do the 2 centre backs, and one of our 8s could just be in a half and half from inside, but ready to go and press the outside positions if it went to a wing back that's dropped down for them. So that's what we would look like from statics. But we did actually make a change in open play. Okay, as I said before, we wanted to be aggressive and we always want to try and press high if we can. We've got to recognise Sheffield United's threats as well, and the way their outside centre-backs play, they can be really high and wide at times as well. And if we just went with a flat 2 strikers, which we would normally do against a back 3, then they'd probably find it quite easy to be able to get out, step in, overload us. And that might mean Carlton Morris or Eli are end up tracking an outside centre-back all the way back and deep and taking them away from where their main threat is in the middle of the pitch. So that's one thing to think about. If we start spreading too much in terms of our two centre forwards as well, and they switch it a couple of times, it could start freeing up Norwood as well, who's a big threat for them. And if he starts getting turned and he's facing forward, then they've got coming and going. You know, McBurney might drop and you've got Ndiaye running, and it's starting to, you know, it's going to cause a lot of problems. So we wanted to try and stop the outside centre-backs, but we needed to make sure we stopped Norwood as well, which was really key. So the way we did that, we thought what we tried to do for the majority of the time, and a lot, especially in the first half, we did it well, was drop one of our strikers, normally Eli, around Norwood, and try to get Carlton Morris more on their middle centre-back, Egan. And then if it did go to an outside centre-back, because that would be the pass that we'd be showing, that would then be one of our eights' jobs to try and do that, and then cut off any pass that would come inside. So we're trying to cut off anything inside, try and make it more predictable, and make it go wing back to wing back. And then obviously we've got outside centre back against a striker. Nakamba then would come over and try and close that space to block any pass, you know, forward into a striker, but also take care of that midfielder, whether it's Fleck or Berg that's in this position as well. And obviously we try and close opposite side of the pitch, so everyone over and everyone around, making sure we're compact and tight and trying to keep them one side of the pitch. But this then would try and stop the switch of play, because Carlton Morris would still be able to be around Egan, of the striker now stopping Norwood getting on the ball as much as possible. It allowed us to be aggressive still, pressing the outsides of the pitch, but then also keeping our two strikers more central for if we do win the ball back and we nick it, or, you know, if we win it back even deeper, if an outside centre-back stepped in at all a little bit more, then we've got strikers who are able to give us a first pass on transition as well. So I think that was really key, and it was something that we worked fairly well. Didn't happen all the time. It wasn't perfect. And if a striker was nearer to an outside centre-back, he was a little bit deeper, and the 8 was going to have to run back. We didn't want an 8 running past the striker, because there's no point. If the 9's closest, then an 8 might have to just recognise that and make sure we bounced off so that we did stop Norwood. But that was what we tried to do. So rather than our strikers being flat like this against their 3, because their 3 were wider and more spread, and because we wanted to try and stop Norwood, almost a 9 and 10 out of possession, and 8's pressing at the right moment, trying to cut the inside pass off and keep it one side. And that was something that, in the main, especially in the first half, worked relatively well for us. Even when they're defending low, Sheffield United can turn it into an attack really quickly, especially with Ndiaye, the pace he's got, the individual quality. But when they had the ball, we like to be really aggressive, and our outside centre-backs, similar to what Sheffield United do, they will go all the way in at times. So when we do talk about in possession a little bit, an area that we thought, right, we might be able to try and expose them here, and areas that we can try and create space with some coming and going from the strikers, or whether it's a striker drops into a space and an 8 takes that position. The timing for our outside centre-backs is really key. And a phrase that I like to use as well, if I put, say, Berg now inside a little bit more now, and have Ndiaye starting to drop into these awkward spaces that an outside centre-back has got to think about, do I go? If he goes, that passes on, if he goes too soon, now and then offers that space behind, and before Locks has been able to get across, then you've got potentially McBurney now making that run in behind us and opening up that space. It's a big gap. So a phrase that I use, and you know, everyone will have their own little bits and things that they talk about, but is invite the ball short. So Amari Bell in this position now he's got to be aware of Ndiaye. If he goes too soon, he invites the ball long and in behind. We still want the ball to go to feet and then try and press him and engage from that position. So he's got to be aggressive, body shape ready. He's got to be reading the person on the ball as well now. So Armin Hodzik in this position now, he's got to be thinking, right, is he got his head down? Is his foot coming back? Is he going to go longer? Is he looking like now he's travelling at speed? He's travelling at speed. He's probably going to have to play short. He's travelling at speed now. He might be a bit more aggressive and then arrive as the ball arrives. Because it's really important now that we don't create this space behind, especially if this is McBurney that's coming short, or then Ndiaye's running beyond, or one of the 8s in Fleck or Berg now coming and making this run. Really dangerous position. So the coming and going that they they have between them, that pairing, very intelligent and really dangerous for us. So the key message really for us was to be aggressive, read the body language of the person on the ball now, but invite the ball short, and then as soon as that ball's played and you see it going to feet, try and arrive at the same time he arrives, and then we can try and nibble from in front as well. And the Camber doing what he's really, really good at and trying to challenge from in front and getting about it. It's really important that we do that. Or one of our eights in this position, if it's been a striker that's come out to the outside centre back as well, because we said it didn't work exactly how we wanted it all the time. Sometimes a striker's got to do this one, and the eights are inside. But their big threat was the coming and going, but also the physical nature of McBurney and Ndiaye, different, but they're physical strikers as well. So they can play into them. They can go in. So the midfielders are very, very similar. They've got to be able to screen and try and stop that ball going into feet easily, or into a chest or into a head for a flick on. But still got to be, if an eight now arrives in this sort of pocket of space when our eights come out, we've got to be able to arrive to get pressure on him as well. So the eights, the outside centre-backs, they've got to be aggressive. Body shape's got to be really good, got to be side on, got to be ready to go in behind, but got to be able to arrive as the ball goes into feet as well. Because both of those two, McBurney and Ndiaye, can handle the ball into his chest, they can wriggle, they can flick it on, and they can run as well. So pose lots of different threats, and that's why they were where they were this year. They might not have got on the score sheet all the time, but because you have to focus so much on them, that might open a little bit more space for Berg, or he might be able to go wide and get the cross in the box from in dangerous positions. So real threats, key thing, body shape, arriving at the right time, try and invite the ball short. So when we defend a little bit lower, clearly we can't defend low for 95 minutes of the game. There's got to be a plan in transition. I mentioned before about the threats Ahmed Hodzik and Robinson would have on the left-hand side as well. And Hecky's teams, they're really brave. They're really, really brave. So there'd be times where he would step in from right centre-back, outside right centre-back. He might play it to wing back and then go as well. So that was another reason why we wanted our eights to be able to do the outside centre-backs, because we didn't really want a striker coming. If an eight stays inside now, where Berg is, and taking care of him, and that's one of our strikers, and he plays and runs, and they're looking to try and overload it with this triangle in this corner of the pitch with an eight, a wing back and an outside centre back. We don't really want our striker coming all the way back here to try and defend, because we haven't really got an out, and they're going to have Norwood and Egan and potentially Robinson as well in an aggressive position if we're only leaving one up, and it doesn't really give us an out. So with a striker being able to stay higher and an outside centre-back going, we talked a lot about, okay, well, eight's going to have to make sure we got our numbers over. So it'll be an eight, that's probably our wing-back, an eight that's over, outside centre-back as well, ready, everyone's over. Nakamba's ready to make sure we close these spaces. So we've got a 3v3 in this corner of the pitch, because they could overload it and get crosses in the box from there. But on the regain, this is where we've got to make sure we come alive. So if Ahmed Hodzik's taken this space and then overlapped, for instance, which he can do, it might be Carlton Morris from the higher position now who's starting to track and come over this side of the pitch, because if we do win it, it gives us that first pass. If Carlton's not there, Eli's still doing Norwood. If we win it, it gives us a first pass on transition, and then it gets our two strikers up and running really quickly, and then we've got to catch up quick. The two things we sort of try and talk about on transition are calm and composed, or quick and kill. We can definitely improve on that side of the game and our transitions and our counter-attacking, but what we do quite well is we get the ball from there to there pretty well, but then it's the actual conversion rate that I want us to keep working on and improving. It's not perfect by any stretch, but that was the plan, making sure that eights can track and deal with anything an outside centre-back does, even if Ahmed Hodzik passes and stays into this position here, still leaving quite a bit of space. We know the shape well. We know that we could do the same. So it could be the same thing that they're looking to try and do on transition. So we've got to be aware of it. But as soon as we win it back, is it down the sides? Is it down the sides? Is it into feet? Can we get hold of it and then go quickly? So that was really what we were looking at in terms of a transitional point of view. And again, why we want our eights coming out and press on the outsides and trying to keep our nines central. So if we move into the goal, which was early in the second half, it came from a little bit of a transitional moment. So we'd We just won the ball back, gone back to Ethan Horvath, who had then gone long. Carlton Morris had got hold of it. We landed on the second ball, and then we were able to get up the pitch quickly and create this sort of position now. And we talked a lot about similar things to what, how they would look to try and play as well. We needed some coming and going, but we really felt that we could try and expose the wider areas, the outside centre-backs. If we could draw them out by coming and going, you can create spaces, especially in this wider channel. These wider channels here, we tried to focus on some stuff in the training in the week, on passing and running, pass and run forward. Obviously, they're eights. If we do try and get this triangle, which we did, of Alan Campbell here, Cody Drame and Eli Adebayo in this area, they've got to try and match those numbers. Otherwise, we have a 3v2. So if that's an 8 that comes out, or if it's an outside centre-back, it creates space in behind. I think for the goal, they'd kept the 3 centre-backs narrow, so an 8 had come wider, and midfielders had come over to help the wing-back in his position. But the passing and running was good. The passing movement was good. There was a great little triangle here, and Eli just does what he does really, really well in these areas. He was really brave, really aggressive with his forward running, took a big risk. And Carlton, again, being in the right place at the right time, just making that run across the near post. So Eli had done a little bit of magic, got in behind into this area with some really good combination play out with Cody and Alan. And then just making that near post run, as simple as that. Once we got into this position, it's about picking someone out. Again, an area that we focus on a lot, but can improve that. Scoring a goal is the most difficult part of any football match. And on a day where there wasn't loads and loads of chances for either side, to get into this half position, especially for us away from home, was key and critical then that we scored at that moment. So great bit of play, individual skill by Eli in the end, which on coach's voice I'm going to take no credit for whatsoever. And then the movement from Carlton getting across the front post, it was a good ball, and obviously the really, really important goal. So that's kind of how it came together, but it was from more of a transitional position. But again, the numbers out wide, the coming and going, the being brave and taking the risks. We didn't actually have loads of numbers in the box, which we do want to get more in, but we were clinical at that moment. So from an in-possession point of view, I mentioned before, teams people that have watched us this season, we're not a controlling team with the ball necessarily. We're not going to dominate the game. I think the first half was 50-50 in terms of possession. Then when we got that early goal, there's an element of, okay, we're going to start to now, we haven't got to go chasing it away from home, and Sheffield United are going to come on strong, and we can touch on maybe one or two of the changes as well. But some of the areas that we were looking to try and take, some of the spaces that we were trying to take, would be similar to what we'd spoken about before. So against their front two, is it as simple as a 3v2 and being able to get our outside centre-backs out first and foremost? So dead simple. And our outside centre-backs been in a position, we always try and look to speed the game up. So we always want to try and create a chance. We always want to try and get into a dangerous position. Like I said, we're not going to try and control it from here for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 passes. Not been us. But we will try and play when we're higher up and look to try and keep it there with regains and reactions and counter-pressing as well. But if we do have the ball, be in a position where we can try and break that line and try and take their centre-forwards the other way. What we know is Sheffield United, again, really, really well coached, very, very aggressive team. So one of their eights is then going to come and try and jump and get that press on us if we do get an outside centre-back out. So from this position now, we know that we can try and get a little bit of a chain reaction going. If we can get our strikers playing together, again, key in and out of possession, playing together, again, coming and going. So we know then that Ahmed Hodzik, if we do come short, we might be able to hook him and we might be able to get straight away that space in behind. If we can get the timing right and it might be really fast and late, we might be able to get someone straight away, a striker turned and playing in that position. Or it could be an 8 that arrives at that same moment. So this area of space is something that we'd have spoken about. If because what Sheffield will do is as an 8 comes to press, then a striker normally would close on our pivot, on Nakamba. If they don't do that quick enough, it might be one that we can get turned and then try and speed the game up on the opposite side. But they're very, very good and diligent, the strikers, at getting that close quickly onto the pivot. So this would be, once we break that striker's line, 4 and 8 comes to press, we're probably going to keep the ball this side then and try and speed the game up. So wing back could be high and then drop down to if he can get it turn. but he's going to be 1v1 here. So if he stays high, try and create that space. If he drops down and tries to hook him again, spacing behind him. So a lot of coming and going, opposite movements. If a wing-back comes short, an 8 might make the corner run, we call it. If he stays high and an 8 comes to engage an outside centre-back, again, can one of our 8s get in that space, or can a 9, our 9s work together, hook an outside centre-back, and we might be able to try and play in this space in behind as well. Okay, so obviously it was great for us to get the first goal. Clearly then we're going to get a response from Sheffield United. And as I said before, it's not necessarily on us to then go chasing the game, but we've still got to try and be aggressive and try and be what we are and what we've been good at. But then we expected the change. Fleck came off, Billy Sharp came on. So it's now Sharp and McBurney up top, and Njai now comes into more of a 10 position. And they've got 2 pivots now. The problem this begins to cause us, what we talked about before with our 9s playing a little bit more like that, was when it goes to an outside centre-back now and they've got that double pivot. It's a little bit more difficult now for our 9 to get pressure on the ball. They started to spread the outside centre-backs out a little bit more, and our 8s began to protect inside the pitch. So we tried to balance off and now go, okay, we can go man for man in midfield, but it began to get a little bit more of a little bit more room for their outside centre-backs. We can obviously start to get them pressure from our 8s and a close from our 9s, but then the longer the game goes on, it becomes a little bit more difficult for them to keep doing the running and closing into these spaces. And also, you know, Berg, for instance, it's not black and white football, so we can talk on here and go, he's not always going to be there. He can pop up into these positions as well. And as a pivot then, to get your 9 to do that is difficult. So he starts pulling into these sort of positions, and our 8s having to do that. It's just a lot of work for our strikers to get across and do their back 3. So it starts to give them more control. So the 2 pivots, but not playing just there, causes our 8s a little bit more of a problem. They've got to take care of their midfielders more, and it just starts getting them control and territory. And now, with 3 really good strikers up front as well, you know, they can look to get some good combinations. They can go into McBurney or into Sharp still. So now we've got to make sure we're a little bit more compact. We might have to defend a little bit deeper. But it was a good change from them. Started getting them territory, caused our 8s more of a problem, caused our strikers more of a problem. They're having to run more. So now we've got to be really, really compact and really resilient. Still got our strikers in good positions for the transition, but we're accepting now that we're going to be a little bit deeper. Later on in the game again, they're starting to throw everything at it. We've been really solid and really compact. Now, a couple of changes. Doyle came on for Norwood, so it's almost like for like in terms of position there, and Doyle being that pivot and the controller. But then McAtee came on for Robinson, so now it's a centre-back off. It's another attacking player on, and it almost ended up with 6 on that last line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Berg still floating around and can be causing problems by dropping in and trying to receive the ball or making forward runs. And now it's 2 centre-backs to deal with. In terms of us making any changes, our shape didn't warrant changing too much at all, because we were what we are. We were still compact and we were okay, and we felt reasonably comfortable in the game at this stage. But it becomes a little bit more about legs as well. And we brought Cauley Woodrow on for Carlton Morris. And Carlton had been unbelievable and running himself into the ground. We felt that Eli Adebayo had the legs in him to keep running, and if he had to, you know, if Eli's even in this position now and Berg drops out and receives, you know, Eli could still do the running and get across. But we brought Cauley on for some experience, some know-how to almost drop in around Doyle still, and for Eli to try and work the 2 centre-backs. What we didn't do great, and it was something that we touched on afterwards, and it became a big focus for us for the running after this game, was when we were in this position and defending a bit deeper, and they've got that 6 on the last line. If anyone did get a little bit of time on the ball, and I think it might have been Berg in this position, we were a little bit passive and thought, right, we'll protect here in numbers, and we didn't get up to the ball. Remember what I said at the very beginning, we always want to press. We're always pressing, but you can press from here. And we became a little bit, right, we're going to protect what we've got and we'll protect that box. And if we stand off at all, and then all of a sudden they start loading it, and they've got really, really talented players, and they've got players that are strong in the air as well, and you're allowing that free ball into a McBurney. There was one instance where we sat off, didn't get up to the ball, could have got up quicker. He was thinking he's doing the right thing by protecting, but then we allow a free ball in, someone with quality here, and McBurney got a free header. The good thing was it was from about 16 yards out, so it was okay. But you start becoming passive, or you start surrendering too much territory, it can become a real problem. So they change the shape again when they bring a centre-back off, almost get 6 on that last line. We've got to be careful then we don't become purely defensive now for the rest of the game. We've still got to try and get up to that. Still got to try and get up to the ball at the right moments. Invariably, we did okay with that. But yeah, they certainly threw everything at us with some really good players coming off the bench as well. Our final change was Sonny Bradley coming on. We, talked about their aerial threat. People like McBurney. Sonny, again, experience, a warrior that can come on and defend the box really, really well. So it was a case of Amari Bell, who's played left wing back the majority of his career, really, or left back, coming up, moving up one for Fred Onyedimna, and Sonny slotting into that back line just to give us a bit more strength in terms of defending the box. Fred is more a winger by trade, and Amari defensively very, very switched on, so it just gives us that little bit more solidity going into those last few minutes. It was a really important win for us. It was a huge win. It was a really, really tight game, and a lot of our games are tight. Paul Heckingbottom has done an incredible job at Sheffield United. The cup run that they had, getting automatic promotion, we knew what it meant, going there and winning the game. But the Championship is a lot about fine margins. So I felt that, the lads put an unbelievable shift in, carried out the plan, which was not too dissimilar to what we would normally do, but a few little tweaks, carried it out really, really well. We were ruthless at the right moment. Probably had a couple of key moments where we rode our luck once or twice in defending the box, but not too often. We limited them to very little. And it was an amazing 3 points. And then celebrating with the fans, they knew what it meant as well, going there and winning. And it kept our really good run going.